If you found yourself surrounded by family members being taken over by a demonic spirit, could you survive? In this video, I will go through the movie and point out all the reasons why you have no chance at survival, and at the end I will rate each character on the death meter. We start off at this remote cabin, where we meet Jessica, who has been possessed by the Book of the Dead. I will briefly explain how she got possessed just in case you missed it in the movie. She is the woman who at the very end of the movie walks out of her apartment completely oblivious to everything that happened that night. She says that she was kept up all night by thunder. I guess she thought the earthquake, all the gunshots and screaming was just thunder. Anyways, this is how the Kandarian demon was able to possess her. I guess she was still able to pick up her cousin and go with her boyfriend to this cabin. As Jessica's cousin is sitting here with her, she starts reading some of her book in a demonic voice.
Back close, yet still and wailed, let me out!
I do believe this would freak most people out, and you might think this would make you get the hell out of Dodge, but I think it's pretty unlikely that anyone is going to jump straight to demonic possession. So I think the majority of people would end up getting scalped just like her. And this is why I don't go swimming. Am I the only one who thinks that we should shame people who piss in water that people swim in? I can't give Jessica's boyfriend the same leeway that I gave her cousin. He saw her come stumbling out here after being scalped then. Jessica, looking like this, grabs the drone, hit herself in the face with it, and then fall into the water. He then decides to jump in the water after her and collect his Darwin Award. Honestly, this is what he gets for pissing in the lake. It doesn't show what she does to Scalpy, but I can imagine it wasn't good. In the parking garage after going to get pizza, they get hit by an earthquake. Vanilla Ice here decides it's a good idea to crawl down into the giant hole that just opened up. Okay, putting all the demonic stuff aside, climbing down here is really stupid. This is pretty unstable. There is a good chance the rubble would shift with him climbing on it and bury him. That would have been a much better outcome since he is the one who unleashed this demon on the planet. After some red flags that include but are not limited to almost being crushed by Jesus, a million crosses hanging above this tomb, and being swarmed by locusts, this idiot still thinks it's a good idea to take this very clearly evil book with him. I wonder if Jesus could explain to me how this kid survived as long as he did. Once they are upstairs, Danny can't seem to get the book open until he cuts himself and the book absorbs his blood and opens up. Does this freak him out and make him torch the book immediately? Nope, he looks at all the pretty pictures. To be fair though, I think once that book got his blood, it was over. He also found a record down there that of course he listens to. The first person his stupidity kills is of course his mother, who gets strangled in an elevator. Should have gotten that abortion. Once back inside is when the fun really starts.
And all I could think about was how much I wanted to cut you all open and climb inside your body so that we could stay one happy family.
After this, she starts projectile vomiting, then says,
"Don't let it take my babies."
Okay, I think it's time to set that book on fire now. They try to take her to get some help, but the elevator and stairs are both out of order. She gets the neighbors and tells them what happened. Nope, it's time to chuck this bitch out the window. A bit later, she comes back to life, heavy quotations. She is burning up, so they take her to the bathtub to try and cool her down. After her Spider-Man audition, she falls back into the water. Too stunned to do anything, they just sort of sit there and wait to see what happens next. After she looks over the edge of the bathtub, Cisco says, "Mom."
"Mommy's with the maggots now."
Okay, up until now I can understand the hesitation. They might think she is just sick and that they can still help her. But now she is past the point of no returns. It's time to put this bitch down for good. She comes out of the bathroom with a giant shard of glass, and still everyone just stands there staring at her. It's time for those fight or flight instincts to kick in. If the kids fled the scene while she butchered her sister, I could respect that, you know, self-preservation first. But unfortunately, that really isn't an option. The stairs are destroyed and the elevator in its current condition is too risky. So fight is the more practical answer. They do have the numbers, but they all just freeze up while the aunt gets stabbed through the hand. Bridget shouts at her mother and gets her attention long enough for Beth to get away. I like how Beth is taping up her hand while Bridget, who just saved her ass, is getting her face tattooed. Danny does hit her with a chair, knocking her off of his sister. Luckily for them, their neighbor comes in just in time to lure her out in the hallway, where she bites out one of his eyes. See, this is why you never go toward the sounds of screaming. At least Beth has the sense to shut and lock the door instead of going out to try and help them. She watches her neighbor get his throat ripped out through the peephole in the door. She also sees her possessed sister eat a shotgun round, then pull the guy who shot her off screen to do God knows what to him. This basically tells you that fighting her is not an option if she can shrug off a shotgun shell like it's a flea bite, then a frying pan is not going to do the trick. In Nerd Explains video, he has the idea of making a rope out of bed sheets and scaling the side of the building. This could work and is probably their best option, but there is quite a few ways that this could go wrong. For starters, the ant was just stabbed through the hand, so that's going to make climbing a lot more difficult. I would also wager that none of them have any climbing experience, so they wouldn't know any of the techniques and would likely fall. Since they are on the 14th floor, it is unlikely that they would survive a fall, but even if they did survive, they would be really fucked up and easy pickings for the demon if it found them. Also, someone would have to carry the little girl down. She is too young to be able to do it on her own. There is also the chance that the demon figures out what they are doing and intervenes. Another problem is if they fail to tie just one of the knots the correct way, they are going to learn just how high 14 stories really is. After all the neighbors get butchered, Danny decides to come clean and show his aunt the book.
Is it my fault?
Yes, it is. While they are looking through the book, Bridget gets up to go check on her wound, leaving her little sister in here all by herself. The second she leaves, the demon starts singing at the door, almost like it knows she is now by herself, which just reinforces the idea that if they did try and scale down the building, they would get a surprise visit from their mother. You would think that looking through the peephole and seeing her mother like this, that she would not open the door, but little kids are naive and very gullible. They will believe pretty much anything you tell them.
Nothing a big ol' hug and kiss from you won't fix.
So I am placing most of the blame for this on everyone else for leaving her by herself. It's probably a good thing Bridget didn't take her with her, since she is clearly infected with black streaks coming from her cut and blood pouring out of her nose. She tries rinsing her mouth out with water, but I hate to break it to you, but that is not going to work. The only thing she could do at this point is huck herself out the window. By the time Beth goes to check on her, it's too late. She is already possessed. After Bridget takes a cheese grater to her calf, Danny comes running in with something heavy to put his sister down with. Oh wait, no, he is completely unarmed and just has to run away. Lucky for him, Cassie is on point with Stephanie. They think this kills her, but with everything they have seen so far, they can't be sure, so Danny ties her up. You might think that throwing her out of the window is the better option, but this depends on what you are going to do. If you are planning on climbing down with the rope sheet, having her waiting for you down at the bottom would not end well for you. Even if you are only going to go down a few floors so you can get to the fire escape, it's still not great, since Demon Bridget would be able to see what you are doing. So if you go with Danny's idea and tie her up and lock her in another room, there is no guarantee that she would not get out and cut your rope while you are climbing down. What I am trying to say is you are pretty much fucked no matter what you do here. Next, Beth wants to listen to all the records and hopes there is some information on there that's going to save their asses. I don't have a problem with this. They are already up shit creek and this is their paddle. The issue is, they decide to split up. There is no reason why Danny and Cassie can't listen in as well, or at the very least just sit in the same room while Beth listens. You might say Cassie is too young, they need to protect her from listening to this kind of stuff. Well, Cassie has already speared her demon-possessed sister through the mouth, so I would say that ship has already sailed. While listening to the record, Beth discovers that the possessed cannot be killed. You would think this would make her go check on Bridget, but you would be wrong. So of course Bridget attacks Danny and Cassie. After being pushed into the kitchen, she stabs him in the arm and spits blood all over his face. He does manage to set her on fire, but according to the record Beth was listening to, that's not going to do much of anything. While all this is going on, Ellie, the mother, finds her way back into the apartment. Luckily, Beth saw her reflection in the window and stabs her in the neck with a screwdriver. That does absolutely nothing, and she gets thrown back into the living room. Danny stumbles in and falls to the ground. As Beth is distracted, Demon Ellie grabs her and pins her to the floor. Lucky for her, Cassie comes in clutch, sliding her a pair of scissors that she uses to stab her in the face with. I swear Cassie is the MVP of this entire movie. Out in the hallway, Beth can't get the door open to the fire escape, but she does find their neighbor's shotgun. It didn't do him any good, but hey, it beats a pair of scissors. Just as she is about to shoot the door, Ellie charges after her, but Beth swings around and blows her leg off. She also shoots off her arm. That's when Bridget and Danny come out into the hallway, drop down next to their mother, and start laughing hysterically. That's when Beth and Cassie run into the elevator, and that's when everyone out in the hallway starts chanting "Dead by Dawn." Dead by Dawn! They are about to find out why going into the elevator was a mistake, but to be fair, they didn't have much of an option. Once inside, the elevator starts filling up with blood. The elevator can't hold that much weight, so it falls. Of course, plot armor wraps itself around them real tight and neither one of them are injured. Back in reality, they just fell 14 stories. For reference, that is 196 feet or about 60 meters. So yeah, there is no chance they survive that with 0 injuries. Their luck continues as they get into the car and start it with no issues. Unfortunately for them, Beth's dumbass gets the car stuck. That's when the demon arrives and it looks like it has jammed all the corpses into one creature, and I don't think it's here to give them a push. While they are hiding, the gate starts to shut on them, and they make a break for it. They roll under the gate, but the demon grabs Cassie and pulls her back under. Well, that's a tough break, Cassie. She might have saved Beth's life earlier, but hey, there is no sense in both of us dying, right? Oh no, she is going back for her rookie mistake. Always got to look out for number 1. The demon has Cassie cornered.
All I want is your little head, baby girl.
Beth gets there just in the nick of time. In reality, this would not stop Cassie from losing her head. If she shot the demon, it would just push the chainsaw into her. But she stops and turns around, giving Cassie a chance to escape.
Come get some.
She chucks the chainsaw at Beth, causing her to fall and waste her last round. The demon starts dragging Beth to the wood chipper. Right before Beth gets turned into ground beef, Cassie runs up and turns off the wood chipper, which also for some reason made the demon let go of her. She grabs the chainsaw, Cassie turns the wood chipper back on, and Beth uses the chainsaw to cut her up and push her into the wood chipper. I like to think that the demon actually fed Beth into the wood chipper, and this is just the version she is making up in her head so that she doesn't have to face the reality. This demon could have easily kept Cassie from turning off the machine while pulling her in. Okay, now that I have gone through the movie, I am going to rate each character on the death meter. I am going to leave out the neighbors as well as the people from the cabin because they were not in the movie very much and there isn't much to say. So with that being said, let's get started. Beginning with Ellie, the mother. Her biggest mistake was of course having kids in the first place. I mean, getting into the elevator after an earthquake. Now, there is no way that she could have known a demon would strangle her, so I am not going to fault her for that, but getting in the elevator was pretty dumb, especially since she just yelled at her kids for doing that a few minutes before. Since she died so early on into the film, there isn't a whole lot to go off of here, so I will be easy on her and give her a 6. Next up is Bridget. Her first mistake would be not trying hard enough to keep her retarded brother from going down into that hole. This is still more on Danny than Bridget, but she could have tried a lot harder to stop him. Later, she did tell him to get rid of the book, but once that thing absorbed his blood, I think they were past the point of no return, so throwing it out of the window probably wouldn't do them any good. During the struggle against Ellie, she screamed to draw her attention away from Beth. It's a nice gesture, but turned out to be a fatal mistake. Beth was too busy taping up her hand to help, which is pretty messed up since she just saved her life and Danny took his sweet-ass time finding that chair to hit her with. I don't think Bridget did anything too stupid, so I will just go down the middle and give her a 5. Okay, now let's talk about Danny. First, going down into a hole created by an earthquake is extremely stupid. It's unfortunate that Mother Nature didn't do his family a favor and send an aftershock their way, burying his dumbass under a mountain of rubble.
Throw yourself in next time and rid us of your stupidity.
Also, bringing this book that was hidden underground in a tomb that was just revealed to you from an earthquake is pretty damn stupid. Also, once the book drank this kid's blood, it should have set off some alarm bells, but this kid has no survival instincts. Cut to when their mother was on top of Bridget tattooing her face. It took him forever to find that chair and knock her off of her. He definitely could have prevented Bridget from getting infected. Once Beth finds Bridget in the kitchen and gets a cheese grater taken to her legs, this useless waste of space runs in with no weapon, and his only strategy was to run away. They also split up when Beth goes to listen to the records, which is pretty dumb and leads to him facing Demon Bridget all by himself, and I think it's safe to say it didn't go his way. I was trying to find some redeeming qualities for this kid, but I really could not find any, so I have to give this kid a 10 out of 10 on the death meter. Next up is our future serial killer, Cassie. She is definitely the MVP of this movie. The only really stupid thing she does is open the door for her mother, which, to be fair, is really stupid, but I am going to cut her some slack since she is so young, and I think all the time she was helpful more than makes up for it, like when she speared her sister right through the mouth and slid the scissors over to Beth so she could stab Ellie in the face. She did get caught at the end when they were making a break for the exit, But it wasn't because of a dumb choice on her part. When Beth was in trouble after coming back to save her, she shut off the wood chipper, saving her life. All in all, I think this kid performed pretty well. I think I am going to give her a solid 3 out of 10. Finally, let's talk about Beth. She just so happened to be the first target of Ellie's rage and gets stabbed through the hand. Bridget got her mother's attention, giving her a chance to escape. Once she pounced on Bridget, she decides taping up her hand is more important than saving Bridget. Damn, that's pretty cold considering she just saved her ass. Later, she wants to listen to the records to see if there is any information that could help them. I don't have a problem with this. The issue is putting the kids in the other room. This leads to Danny facing Bridget by himself, which in the end is what killed him, and Ellie sneaking up on her. She stabs Ellie in the neck, which does nothing. Ought to go for the head. After being thrown into the living room, she sees Danny and seemingly forgets about Ellie, who grabs her from behind. There are so many times in this movie that she should have been dead. Out in the hallway, after she blows Ellie's leg off, Beth and Cassie run into the elevator. Most people would criticize her for this, but to be fair, she didn't have many options. She couldn't get the door to the fire escape open, and there is no guarantee that shooting it with the shotgun would do any good. Even if she did get it open, there is a chance that it's in the same condition the stairwell was in. Running back into the apartment was also not a great choice, since she would have to fight her way through all the possessed in the hallway. So I can see her believing that is her best way out, especially since she didn't see how Ellie died earlier. Of course, when the elevator filled with blood then fell 14 stories, she and Cassie should have both been dead. The point is, she didn't have any good options, and this isn't a how to beat video, it's a why you are fucked video. She also managed to get the car stuck on a crack in the parking garage, which was pretty dumb. I don't know why she would stop the car so far away from the exit. When they are running towards the exit, Beth actually escapes. It's Cassie that gets dragged back. She should have just said, "Tough luck, kid," and then left. I mean, it's not like she had a problem leaving Bridget to fend for herself earlier. But if she just had to go back, maybe come up with a plan that consists of more than saying,
Surprise, motherfucker!
The only reason she survived this is because Cassie saved her. Since she only survived this movie because of her extremely thick plot armor and not her combat skills, I am going to give her a 7 out of 10 on the death meter. Anyways, do you think you would have made it out alive? If you made it this far into the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. It would help me out a lot. Also, let me know what movie you would like to see next. And remember, if your niece ever gets dragged away by a demon, leave her.